Welcome to the Experience podcast. Raw, honest, relatable experiences that help us grow. Are you subscribed? If not, what are you waiting for? Go! And please, leave a review and help us grow while you're at it. Thank you.
On today's episode, I am here with my really good friend, Norma, and we are talking about daddy issues. If you were able to tune in to Daddy Issues Part 1, you heard the story of my crazy adventure making my way to Miami to meet my dad after 13 years. Today, we're going to be talking about my teenage years. I'm going to share my story during that time. You guys know that I like being transparent, and Norma is going to what are you going to do? Are you going to listen to my story, or are you going to tell your story too?
I'll tell some of my story as well.
Okay. All right. So we're swapping. We're swapping stories. The SOA Q&A, and of course today's happy habit. Daddy issues.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody, or if I don't like to throw numbers out there, but if I had to, I would say like a good 90%, 90 something percent chunk of people have some type of parental issue.
Men and women.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whether it's daddy or mommy issues.
Daddy today.
Daddy today. But here's the thing though. It's something that when you hear the term daddy issues, I feel like there's shame in that. People use it to shame each other. Like, she got daddy issues. And today we're like, okay.
Yeah.
What happened?
I also feel like I notice more happy women now than when I was younger. So I feel like as you get older, you realize like, oh, that wasn't exactly how it was supposed to go, when you see other women or men have very healthy issues, healthy relationships with their dad. So then it kind of stands out like, wait a minute.
So back then you were like, this is okay. But then when you saw the other side or what it could be, you're like, hold on.
I know this is okay, but we're kind of more like, this is annoying that, relationships with dad are like this. And then...
But you also don't realize that it could be different.
It could be different, yes. Yeah, until later.
And you know what? It's interesting that you say that, because I'm not sure, because one thing that I have to explore, that I've been exploring for a long time, but I want to go deeper into it, which sounds wild if I say it to people, there's a huge chunk of my childhood that I don't remember.
Oh.
So I figured out a way to push those things down and store them somewhere. And I'm sure they still bother me. But I kind of don't remember what I was going through in relation to the father thing.
Yeah.
But I think that when I started seeing other families with their dads and seeing how they interact, and I was like, wait a minute. Okay. So now I'm feeling something.
Yeah.
Now I'm envious. Now I'm lonely,
Yeah.
Like,
wait, what did I miss? Or
or look what I'm missing.
Look at what I'm missing.
But I got a phone call. Actually, a man who was a colleague of my dad's saw me, and he was at my workplace. He saw me and he sat there, observed me for a long time, and decided this is his daughter.
Because you have the same face. I mean, I was like, yes, go ahead.
He knew. And this is the story that I was told, right? He knew. He went back to him and said, hey, I saw your daughter. She's like you.
Yeah.
We had a conversation. She personality similar. And I don't remember how much time had passed between that and my dad calling.
Okay.
So when my dad called the house, at this point I am 19. And when he called the house, I had no idea what he was like. But now that I know his personality, in retrospect, I'm like, I see why he behaved that day why he behaved the way he did on the phone.
Yeah.
So he called, and I'm still me. I think he was trying to go through the proper channels and have like proper protocol, but I already knew. I was like, he called to speak to my mom, and I was like, you can speak to me.
Yes.
You can speak to me. And he was like, I would have rather not. That's literally how he talked. He's like, I'd rather not. And I was like, you're my dad, right? And he paused so long. And because I know how he is today, I know it's because this girl is doing this all wrong. And I don't want to do it with...
to go this way.
It has to be in a certain order, certain protocol. And I can totally see how, that was his reasoning at that time.
Yeah.
But we ended up talking for a while, and he would, send me money. We would have conversations. He would give me advice.
Mm-hmm.
And then he flew to New York to see me. He lives in another state, Miami.
How old are you at this time?
19.
Still 19, okay.
First time meeting him. He came, we went to the mall, talked, and at 25, I decided that, or 24, I decided that I wouldn't speak to him again. So much had happened during that space of time that I was like, I told him, I was like, I don't think I want you in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember exactly where I was at the moment. I was at this co-op produce place near Flatbush, because at that time organic foods and plant-based stuff was not popular at all. And I had to drive all the way back there, the back of Brooklyn, to find that stuff. And I was in the supermarket walking around in a daze because whatever he was telling me at the time, I'm like, is he are you serious? I realized that I had walked around the supermarket so long, didn't pick up anything, couldn't find anything because I was so upset. I stepped outside and I told him, you know what? I think that I don't want you in my life.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into the reason why I ultimately made that decision. Even though I'm speaking on this publicly, there are certain things that I know he would be highly uncomfortable. He's going to be highly uncomfortable with the whole conversation. I was going to say, so but there are certain elements that, out of respect, I'm like, I'll keep to myself. But the teenage years.
It's also, I'm thinking, it's still really like amazing that at 24, at some point you were like, yeah, this is about enough of what I can handle. Like I have to set my boundaries, because at that age, we often still, like, even it's 24.
I didn't know I was doing that.
But that's you said a good boundary. But yes, go back. Teenage years.
I didn't know that's what I was doing. I just knew I was overwhelmed and it was not okay.
Yeah.
What was happening. But teenage years, how does not having a father and father figure really affect you?
So I grew up with my dad in home. Like he was there.
And you still have issues.
I was going to say, like, he was there and he's also not there. So if we go to the teenage years, I'll say that my younger years with him are actually very happy. I'll say that. I have very nice, fond memories of him when I'm, I would say, below the age of 8. That's the span of time. I also think he's great with younger kids. But that's also because you can have a persona with younger people. You don't have to and in teenage years, I feel our eyes get like...
You start to see them.
Yeah, you start to see them who they are.
You start to learn your parents for real.
And so I was a very angry teen. And definitely from like 12, 13. And the main reason is because my dad had 2 children out of our household, and so the effect that it had on my mom, and then him really like checking out. He was almost never home, even though he lived with us. So it was even like to the point, like, when somebody comes home, then we would just all leave the living room, or I don't remember any time, especially in my teenage years, where I'm really enjoying time with both my parents or even with my dad again. We're just passing ships in the same house. But it's also really, it has a big effect on me. I'm angry. I fight a lot. I hit first. Like I don't hear like.
We have the same childhood.
I'm such a hostile person. Like it's, yeah, like, and especially people that only know me later, like in my 20s or like being a mom are always like, wait, what? And I'm like, yes, I was extremely confrontational. I was like, I did not wait for whatever I thought was offensive was immediately like I would lash out. Yeah, and mainly because I didn't know how to express that. I was really sad what had happened to my parents, their union, our household. Like it was just destroyed, and he took no accountability for it. So even like later on, he just had this idea where we would just all get along, and there's like. And I never got there. I never got to where like, no.
Were you guys introduced?
No, not really. No, not really. So there's a sad fight with that. Like the younger, because, you know, me and my younger sibling are 14 years apart. There's 4 of us, but so it happens.
From your mom?
Yeah, from my mom. Yeah, there's 4, and then 2 from the other woman. And my youngest sister is born in between the two. Yeah. And so I feel like me and my older brother, we kind of took a stand like, that's great for you. Those are your people when we were in our teens. But now that we're older, I'm like, oh, it's only affecting us and the other kids. It's not like, it's not really affecting my dad. So I've started to heal the relationship, especially with my sister, my half sister, or I say sister because I feel like half is also like a stigma on them.
But the only reason why I would agree, like my brother's my half brother, but you've never heard me say that.
Yeah.
Ever, right?
Yeah.
The only reason why it will become appropriate to say it is so we would know, are you talking about your mom's daughter or are you talking about the other lady's daughter?
Yeah. Like a lot of people are like, you have another sister? I'm like, I actually do. Like, and I wasn't not talking about them or
Bruno.
Or my brother, exactly, on purpose. But they were there. But I think I did that for a long time too. Like a standoff, like subconsciously standoff with my dad, not with them, but
that
with
was
my dad.
Exactly my question. Like, was that rebellion?
Yeah, definitely.
Against him, or were you in solidarity with your mom?
I think also definitely rebellion against him, but more so because of I could see what it had done to my mom.
Her,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, because we're in the house, like, and everybody has their own perspective, of course.
I can't imagine.
Not all siblings from my mom share the same perspective on it. Yeah.
So, is there like a rift in your relationship with the ones who were like, yeah, I'm gonna be cool with my outside siblings?
At times, we can go through it.
Like they can't come for Thanksgiving. Yes, they can.
Yes,
no, they can't.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Like, or just like more not towards like having people over, siblings over. Like everybody's always welcome. It's more at how. Okay, so in my teenage years, I have my version of my dad, but in my younger sister's teenage years, she has a different version of this man, and it's very hard for me sometimes to listen to her.
Don't talk about.
Like,
a lot of
what are you talking about? I don't know him.
It's a different time period.
Yes, he's grown. Wow. He's older. I'm 24. But he's 24 when he has me. He's like well into his 30s when he has. Yes,
more mature.
He's more mature. She gets a whole different version of him. And I am, now that I'm grown, I try to have more grace for his actual version of himself. But it took me a long time, and sometimes still, like if my younger sister talks about him, I'm like, I can feel it in my body, like what?
Wow.
But she really experienced that with him. I didn't.
Wow. So. You know what's one of the things that I really love about our friendship? We had a very parallel life.
Yeah.
In completely different
places. Yes.
We were going through the same things from young to now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you've gone through that I ended up going through after you, and then we flipped them, and and I'm like, there's this sync, but I was angry too. You were angry about your dad being present and being a certain way.
Yeah.
I was angry about my dad not being present, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, I can't like 100% say my anger was based on dad alone. It was definitely a combination of a lot was going on in the 90s, guys.
Yes.
There was so much going on in the and when I say the 90s, it sounds like the era, which it's also the era, but also I lived in the 90s section of Brooklyn. It's weird.
Like a double.
But there was just so much going on, and the violence, right? The attitude and the
like I'm in Amsterdam at this point when I'm a teenager, but still it's very similar. Like it's teenage years. Like there's other schools that are rival schools and stuff like that. So there was constant outside ways for me to express that anger without really nobody's addressing what's going on at home. Like life just continues on. Everybody goes to work, everybody goes to school. But I get in trouble all the time. I go to school less, I skip.
I never got in trouble.
Oh no. I got in trouble a lot. Like my mom sent me to a school that I didn't want to go to. So I used to love school. And I used to go to school with one of my favorite cousins. And so they all were on the other side of town. And all those different angles just made me like very rebellious. But I don't ever remember that my dad even said like, what is going on with you? Or like we're really just like...
I know exactly what you mean. Like you're going through all the things right under their nose.
Yeah.
Under his nose.
Yeah.
And he can't see it because why?
Why?
He has a lot going on.
Yeah.
Do you realize that? Like...
And then we really hit a wall that's where I knew, like, looking back, that talking really needs to happen constantly, especially with your teenage kids. Like then I think when I was like 15 or 16, like I stayed out really late, like maybe I think like until 1 a.m. We just went biking. And then when I came back, he was at the door and he like hit me in my face. And I just
How
remember.
Dare you?
Yeah, like I was gonna say, you have no rules all this time. Like you have no idea who I am. You don't know who my friends are. You never come to my school, like anything. But this all of a sudden, in this moment, I have to like respect you as a parent. So that went like really left as well.
The same.
Yeah.
The exact. And it was a physical altercation that brought up those feelings for me too. You said something to me one time that I will never forget, right? You said that you were passionate about piano.
Yes, I was. Yeah.
And nobody showed up?
Nobody would come. And
so you quit?
I quit, yeah. Nobody would take me over. Nobody would come. And then it would, like, when it gets dark in the fall at night, it wasn't that far from my house, but the way to walk started to scare me because it was so dark. And then I just stopped. But it's always the thing that I go back to and be like, I know a little bit of piano. I want to do it again. And so I'm like, yeah, there was no nurturing of like my goals or my interests. You know, like
you could have been Norma S.
But I'll say this,
Norma
like
Keys.
There's like if we think about father figures, my mom has a brother who's very passionate about writing. So when I look back at like where did the spark come from, where I started writing, because I used to think I wanted to write novels and stuff. And then I realized it is those years, maybe between 10 and 12. My uncle lives with us for a while and we write all the time. He used to do calligraphy.
Yeah.
And so I realized like, oh, there was that makes sense. Like that's where that started to stick, that I was like, I like this and I like stories, blah, blah. And then I don't do it for a while, and then it comes back in my early 20s.
That support is something that I don't think people understand the weight of.
No.
They do not get it. No. Like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy and marvelous. It could just be walking in and sitting down.
It
like,
really
just
was.
Showing up. You know what I mean?
Hot flashes.
And really?
Yeah.
Stop. Right now?
I was really trying to control it for a long time, and then I was like, maybe I should just acknowledge it. I'm on fire.
You're having a hot flash right now?
Yeah, it's really bad. Like, so
do we need to do something?
I know. They're going to just come and go. There's nothing I can do about them.
Just ignore it?
Yes, because honestly, like, or if I think about it even more, like, then it just becomes like a bucket.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, I can not pretend it's not happening, but I can just let it happen and then it stops.
Were you getting along with boys?
Yes, boys are like my best friends. Oh no, I love being with boys. I don't get along with girls.
Really?
Yes.
I had all the girlfriends.
No.
I was fighting with the boys.
No.
And you know what? I think my life ended up like that now. Not fighting, but we're gonna get into that another time. But back then, the fist fights that I've had and the violence was all boys.
No.
I do not.
God.
I swear to you,
No.
I do not recall having a fight or any type of physical anything with girls. As a matter of fact, I've had girls that wanted to fight me, and I'll be, if I know that it was a stupid thing, I'll be like, I don't want to fight you. I'm not fighting you. But the boys,
ready to go.
we have stories.
No, I didn't fight with. I was also very tomboyish. Like it took me a long time to realize, like, oh wait, I look good in a dress. Like it could be really girly. Like even if I look at pictures when I already have Denisio, I'm like, oh bye. But it's also the era.
What am I
like,
wearing? The baggy clothes, the 90s,
clothes.
right?
Yeah.
It made sense for that time period. Though.
It kind of does.
But you know what's interesting? Even though we had a parallel life, the time period where you are having your first child, I am
going in the middle, I think. Yes. Yeah, because the ages apart.
I'm not even in this country.
Not yet?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm still in Guyana.
Because you have to be. What age did you come?
I came here in 93.
Okay, yeah. The following year. I know you were here. The following year I have a kid. 94.
Why did I think it was 91?
Because of Shag. He's the head of
No,
Denisio.
he's 93.
Oh, okay. Yeah, oh no.
Yeah, he's
94.
But you know what's interesting? You go through life with either a fatherless situation going on, or a father who's present but not present, or a father who's present but putting a lot of his issues on you.
Yeah.
A father who's pressuring you to be an overachiever. There's so many different types of daddy issues. And I think a lot of times when you see women behave a certain way and people are like, you have daddy issues, I think we often lean, and tell me if I'm wrong, we often lean towards the dad wasn't there.
With the issues overall?
When people say you have daddy issues, I feel like most people feel like the dad was absent.
There. That one that one.
But I also feel like daddy issues could come from, or abuse.
Yeah.
It could come from being spoiled.
Yes, definitely.
Getting all the things, and however that ends up affecting people.
It does.
I don't necessarily believe all the way in the word spoiled, because I think a lot of times people are like, if you get too many things, you're spoiled. I'm like, if we have things, we can get them.
We can get them.
We can enjoy life. But I have a whole different definition of spoiled. So, but I'm going with the general definition that people typically use.
Yeah.
Overindulging, giving a lot of things. I think that's what people typically say.
I feel like things always tip, or let me say it better. I feel like people forget that certain things we do because of what is shown to us. So we hold on to things that we think are part of our persona, or what makes us like either a step ahead of whoever is around us, right? So I have my dad's last name. A lot of certain people have their mom's last name. So that used to already be like I live in the house with my dad, and it was only me and one more friend that I can pull up in my head that had their dad's last name.
Like people were jealous of him?
Yeah, it was kind of a thing that you could be like, I have my dad's last name.
I have his last name, but I'm not happy. What happened?
Exactly.
What do y'all want from me?
But that part you won't show, right? Like it's the facade part.
Well, I have his last name.
Yes. and lived like my friend, my oldest friend, she lived around the corner from me. Same thing. She grew up with her parents, and she has his last name. Her parents were married. If I that was, certain things all started to be like, oh wow, like got it together over there. And then you also have my point that I was going to make with it is that you don't let go of those things for a long time until you realize like they don't serve me anyway. Like, so like, oh,
You got wiser.
yeah, like you have his last name or he lives with us.
But maybe
it
you
didn't
needed
mean
that,
we
right?
had a
Maybe it
good
was
relationship.
soothing.
Was
Like,
it? Or to go back to what you're
comforting?
spoiled, when you said spoiled. I have a cousin that I know went from a spoiled home to what people would consider a spoiled marriage. And I would still say, no, thank you, to the spoiled marriage. So I feel like we hold on to things
I want a spoiled marriage.
to be represented.
You're on your
Yeah,
own with
well,
that.
no, I'm like, hold on to your hat. So, I feel like it comes with things. So the facade of like, I had a good, like my dad was home or my dad, like those things counted the facade counted for a long time. That's what I would say. That's what I would say about it.
Yeah, I get that. But how do you think that, well, something that I learned, fatherless girls have issues with being indecisive, having issues with, they have issues with confidence. And I'm like, I was never indecisive. And I don't feel like I've ever not been confident in just putting myself out there and doing whatever it is I need to do. I've never like gone into a shell and said, well, my dad's not here, so I can't go out into the world and do anything.
Yeah.
You know, but that's a thing that's very, very common. Did that affect you, or did those things show up for you?
No, I could be very impulsive, to be honest. I make decisions and then I just like run with it. So, and I'm probably the most daring sibling in our household. No, I don't, confidence maybe, but only in certain areas. I have no problems with confidence in, not with my kids. Like if I have to do something with my kids, like get them somewhere and need them somewhere.
But not overall, because I feel like there's an umbrella confidence.
Yeah.
It's the confidence of I'm staying right here in my lane and I'm not budging.
I would say confidence when it comes to, because I'm so proud of like my work with my writing and stuff like that. So if I have to talk about my writing, like there's confidence to it. But to go to like and sell it sometimes, there's a little bit of nerves of like, oh my God, like, are they going to let me do what I want to do, blah, blah. So I don't know if that falls under confidence, but that's where I can feel the little bit of a shake of like, where I don't feel as confident as I do in other areas.
Yeah.
But I feel like it only happens when it's something that is really mine, not like, I don't know, you could send me to be like, no, okay, yeah, sure. Like I've never had it where I have to take care of somebody else or make sure that something else is pristine for another goal, except for when it comes to something that I'm like, okay, this is my baby. This is close to my heart. Yeah. But not with my kids. If it comes to my kids, I'm like, what is it that you need? Or what is it that, like, what is the end goal?
I've seen you be tenacious with mothering.
So I don't know why it shows up there. Maybe that's something I can explore.
Or I know for me, I know the feeling of an absent parent. I am also highly aware of the moments when I try to overdo it and I kind of pull myself back. Your kid is not going through what you went through. That's what I tell myself. You don't have to overcompensate for something that doesn't even exist anymore. It doesn't have anything to do with this current parental relationship. You guys are good. But I've definitely learned so much from having to go through loneliness, struggling to figure things out on my own. Just so many things that a kid shouldn't have to take care of.
Yes.
So maybe that's where some of my confidence comes from.
Yeah.
Just having to make decisions and never really suffering from, I'm so confused, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. Asking people, where should I go in life?
Yeah.
No,
I'll have anxiety, but I'll go. Like, I'll say it shows up like that. I can have anxiety because I don't believe I can fall on anybody but myself. Like I just don't have evidence of that. So when I'm like, oh, it's on me again, then I can feel my anxiety, and that can actually annoy me, which makes it worse.
Yeah.
But I'll move regardless. So I would say I feel like that would be not blaming him or my household, but it's a lingering effect of making decisions from a very young age. Like
I have the total opposite. But I also have the total opposite situation with my dad, right?
Yeah.
But it's possible that this is giving you insight into what he might have been going through. Maybe he was very anxious as well, because it has to be wild, scary to come to your family and say, guys, I have another baby somewhere else.
Yes.
That has to be scary for him.
Yeah.
So he was going through his own thing, and then for that to happen again, no.
I feel like it's
honestly, I feel like if I, or you think it was back then because it was so common, maybe he wasn't as anxious?
So I think he followed in something that he thought was part of like culture, and then realized that it's actually extremely damaging, but now you're already in it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's very normal in Suriname to have outside
kids. It's
typical
in the Caribbean.
Yeah, but then I was like, but then the effect of it is almost never.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, spoken about. I feel like the generation after me is more open about it. That's why I said, like, I can give my dad more grace as an adult, because when I was 8, we had a very traumatic event because we moved back to Suriname, and then there was a military coup, and like my mom went back to the Netherlands first, said to leave us behind with my dad, and then while we were with him a couple of weeks, he got arrested, and so he's in jail. So now we're with my mom's brother and like my aunt, one of my favorite aunts, who I see as another mom. So we're without both our parents for about a year, I think. Because my mom had to go back, and then my dad was.
I didn't realize that was so long.
So after that, we I feel like that's where for me. That's where it starts. So I feel like I'm meeting.
Disconnect started too.
I go back to my brothers and I go back to Amsterdam before he gets released. So we also don't see him for a while. So I also feel like he comes back with all his own trauma.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then
definitely
I go into my teens. He has these, to me, random children. And I was like, yeah, dude, it's your, then it's like, it's your fault. And I'm angry. Yeah. But now that I can see him as an adult,
and you're going through your stuff.
You're just going through your stuff.
I've had to do that with my dad too. I've had to, in therapy, my therapist, she put me through this whole thing of humanizing him. And the exercise was, whatever my issue was with him, I need to come up with a defense for it.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say what the actual issues were, but I'm just going to give a random example that could be. For instance, let's say I was like, he's always yelling, which he doesn't.
Yeah.
Let's say that was the issue. She would say, okay, defend him. I would have to come up with a defense, which would sound something like, oh, he was always yelled at. Oh, he has really bad anxiety. So I had to state the problem and then defend it. And I'm like, I think you kind of just want to continue being mad at them, right? They're like,
yes. You're like, what do you mean? You're an adult. Well, then if anything, then it happens with like my own kids. Like when Denisha once told, I remember, I think I was 36, and Denisha said something, and he was like, yeah, but you're an adult. And I thought to myself, oh my, no.
Your old son.
My oldest. I was like, I didn't realize. For some reason, I wasn't super conscious about the fact that, of course, his entire life, he sees me as the adult. I'm his adult from 19 years old. Like, I'm not an adult. I'm not. I'm making decisions, and I'm raising him well, and I absolutely did what you said. Like, I made sure that the things that I actually feel like I swung the pendulum, like, way to the other side. Like, I made sure he had every single thing.
Maybe it was too far to the other side.
Yeah, it was definitely too far to the other side.
I feel like that is it makes sense that that's an effect.
Yeah.
Because we want to fix something, but then we go too far.
Yeah, we go too far, because now he's in his 20s. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's because I did this instead of like trying to find. So, but anyways, to go back to that part, I was like, oh wait, I'm the functioning adult in your eyes while I'm being me. So that also made me like more
Meanwhile,
conscious.
You're going through.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm just being Norma. I'm like, I forgot you get the other role that you have in your mind. So the grace is where I felt like I landed. Not until like older years, where I was like, okay, if I see him more as a person, if I see him just more as his individual self, my dad, then I can kind of get there, still with some type of feeling, because I feel like you were responsible for me. But then I do have that, to also just accept that he just is who he is. He has his own personality, and that's what I get. That's what I have to work with. No other expectations, no things that I was hoping for, or like he has this, I always want him to visit me. He has this thing in his head that America is dangerous, and if he comes here, he's gonna get arrested. It's the news. Like, it's gone, like I can't blame them. It's what they show them.
Yeah.
He really thinks like as soon as he steps foot in this country, he's gonna be overwhelmed with racism. So he hasn't been here.
I don't know if he's gonna get arrested, but it is dangerous.
Yes. So
everywhere you go.
Everywhere you go, even in the Netherlands. So I just, for me, it's just something like, for real, you just made that decision, and there's no wiggle room.
Yeah.
And it used to make me so angry, and then I was like, you know what, that is fine. I'll come see you.
Yeah, right.
I'll just meet you where you're at.
Yeah. And I think that's the part about us evolving and being intentional about healing.
Yes.
We can now give our parents grace, forgive them. And in part 3 of Daddy Issues, I am definitely going to touch on my adult phase and what interacting with him as an adult has been like. It's still kind of wild, but it's definitely better than before because I took the initiative to heal.
Yeah.
So I am the one who had to, because when you go through the healing process, you learn a lot.
You do.
And when you learn things, you have to apply them. That's the thing about learning. You can't learn and then not use it.
No.
That's the part where you're now being irresponsible. Once you know something, you have to apply it.
Yeah.
So I started, I'm going to tell you guys definitely some things that were not cool that he's done within the last few years. But for now, the teenage years was definitely lonely.
Yeah.
And I feel pretty good about where I'm at in terms of the dad issue factor.
Yeah.
It was crazy looking back, but now I'm like, you know what? I embrace my journey.
Mm-hmm.
It was what it was.
Yeah.
It happened already. It's gone. It's done.
I wonder. I feel like I don't remember having any hang-ups or feeling like I have hang-ups or anger towards, how people feel like it shows up in like your relationships and stuff like that. But I will say that I probably hold off too much on relationships. Like I notice that I don't make space.
Back then or today?
Today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't make space. Like I'm a little exhausted from making space.
Yeah.
And that does come from seeing how I still repeated and ended up having relationships with people that were actually very similar to my dad. So I've noticed that I am very cautious of how when people approach me, I'm almost always on the defense. I'm like, what is it exactly? What do you want?
Who sent you?
Yes, because I don't have to give. I feel like the person that would like have some type of opening to me would have to be like, let me nurture you. And I'll be like, oh, okay, yes.
Well, that part of the relationship journey is definitely for part 3.
Yes.
But what I will say is you go through your young years not having to be fully responsible for everything in your life, right?
Yeah.
Because you still have parents who are handling certain aspects.
Yeah.
So whatever's happening with your dad, the blow is not hitting as hard. For some reason, when you grow up, and you now have to take care of all the things. All of a sudden, those daddy issues start showing up. And do you think it's because you now have to focus on so many things and you feel like vulnerable to those old stagnant feelings? I kind of feel like that's what it is. Like I feel like when you're going through a lot, that's when those old things show up.
They do.
Because when you're happy and having a good time, you're not thinking about no daddy issues. But the moment you get these bills,
you do.
or something happened to your car, if my dad was there, you know, and then we go back again. But for me, I did not know this as a teenager. I know it now. I'm going to touch deeper into it. On part 3, you have to forgive. Like, you have to move on.
You do.
Because guess what? We also carry this stuff in our bodies, but we're going to wait.
I'll say this part about what you were saying about when it shows up. That is our therapy, of course.
Yeah.
That's where it helps. So this is my tool, and it really helps. I feel like it calms. I always talk about like my younger self. You know, like I can tell when my younger self is present compared to like my adult self. And those are moments my dad is when I do have a car, my dad is the person that I call to say stuff about my car. He will help with that. Or when I was still in the Netherlands, he would always like fix my car if something was wrong with it. Like I will say this too, like or else it just sounds like you're constantly like bashing, but these are absolutely things that I love about my dad, even in my teenage years. He, even though he's not a big risk taker, he will never not tell me to take a risk. He will always say like, you can't fall off the earth. Just do what you want to do. Yeah. You can't fall off the earth. And so I like that because of that he never projected on me what he doesn't do for himself. He was always like, you can do anything. Just, just show me. So I've taken that into my adult life. And I think my brain wandered. Go ahead, because like my brain wandered.
We could just drop the mic.
Yeah.
We could just drop the mic. And make sure you tap in for part 3, where we're going to be talking about things that are happening in the present.
Yes.
What those adult romantic relationships look like. They are ghetto.
Oh, wait. I know it.
You're back?
Yes. Sorry. The tool that I use is that the tool that I use is that when my younger self is present and I feel all that what you were talking about, like then the daddy issue shows up and you're like, this is how I feel this way. I remind her that, but I always got you. Like me, adult Norma, always.
That's why you're tired.
That's
why your ass is exhausted.
I mean, I'm tired, but I'm like, don't forget that I always got you. Of her. Yeah. So I'm like, and that calms me down immediately because it's just a fact check real quick in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, you
but
did always show up.
But she doesn't have anybody else though.
No, she doesn't have anybody else, which is something to. I feel like that's something to be very happy about because then it makes me move. I'm like, well, since I know this for a fact, then just do.
I know what you need, and I know how to be there for you.
For you, yeah. Always, like, so then it like immediately settles and I'm like, okay, that means. What's the next step?
I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done that. I've definitely hugged myself and cried.
Yeah.
And like ugly baby cried.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was my younger self because there was all this protest behavior coming into it, all of that petty, immature behavior, and I'm like, girl, it's okay.
Yeah, why are we doing this? And then, and then if I do, not all things are taking a bath and having a candle. Like some things are like,
ugly.
Yes, okay, this we have to move in this way as well, which is harder for you to do, but I got you. Like,
go somewhere and throw axes.
Yes. Yes.
Go throw an axe. All right, guys. So we are about to transition into our next segment, the SOA Q&A, where our producer, shot of adrenaline, ask us introspective questions that we have to answer.
Yeah.
So the rule for this one is you repeat the question, then answer.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes. What is my favorite trait that I inherited from each parent? From my mom, her work ethic. Like my mom, she just retired, but she worked, like that's a working, that's a working lady. So from my mom, my work ethic. And then from my dad, I'm gonna go with my free spirit. Like, yeah, to chase my dream. My dad is a dreamer, and like I got that from him, and that's my favorite trait from both people. Oh, I'll give my dad a bonus. To make something out of anything, like any meal, any skin product, like
it's resourceful.
Just give my dad 2 coconuts and we're good to go. So, yes.
What social teenage experience impacted me the most? Trauma! Trauma! Yeah, that. Seriously, you know what? There were so many, but let me go to this moment in time where as an adult I'm looking back, I'm like, why?
Well,
what? My cousin and I were in the house having a water fight. In the house. A water fight.
It could have been in the yard.
Why? For what? And I thought about this recently. Like, what was the thought process? What did you think? Like,
how bad did you get in trouble?
That one involves some other people, and it's difficult to talk about it without telling their business. But it was bad.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It was bad. The whole house is soaked.
Yeah, I know what y'all were thinking.
And then there was an adult helping us dry it up. There was a grown person there, like, all right, let me help you out. Get the towels. But it wasn't enough.
No.
Makes no damn sense.
Real bad decision. Now you know.
Don't have water fights in the house.
Oh my God. If I can ask my favorite author a question, what and who would it be? Okay, so it's a little split. It's not split, but he's not really an author. Like, he has books.
Don't say Jay-Z.
Yes, of course. Who else? Why would it not be him? Why would it not be him?
I know a lot of reasons why it's not him.
If I would say something else and somebody would watch this and they know me, they'd be like, oh, I'm surprised he didn't say Jay-Z. Like, it doesn't make sense.
You gotta stay on course.
So, yes, I gotta, like, it's my most influential, like, it's like a mentor to me that I even have never met. So yeah, it would be him, it would be Jay-Z, Sean Carter, and the second part of the question was?
And what would the question be?
What would the question be that I would ask him? Oh my gosh. No, it wouldn't be one. I would try to corner him for solid. Like, it wouldn't be one. What would the question be? No, I have to think about that.
How did you really think it was?
No, that's hilarious. I feel like he answers most of my questions. I could find a song and find an answer. So I feel, you know what? I would say, why don't you buy my show today? That's what I would say. Like, you have a production company, you can pick up my show.
Good question. Great question. Good answer. What do I hope for the 2-month future version of myself? This back pain is ghetto.
Yeah, it is.
And it has to go. It's so wild that last night I met somebody who's going through it and worse. And as we were talking about it, and younger, and as we were talking about it, somebody nearby heard it and she was like, oh, yes. And I'm like, what's going on? Everybody's got this back issue, but in 2 months, I'm working very hard And I am looking forward to getting on the other side of this. Because I need to pop lock in.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Amen to that. Yeah.
All right. So now we are moving into our happy habit.
Yay.
And I'm going to ask you
Yes.
your happy habit. What is something that you do periodically or maybe daily that brings you joy?
Walking. Stretching and walking now, but walking.
Yeah, you are a walker.
Yes.
Indeed. And there's so many times when we would have to go somewhere. No, this is in the past, right? Long ago. And you'd be like, let's walk. I'm like, what? I'm not walking that far.
If I say it's a couple of blocks, everybody's always skeptic, but it's only a couple of blocks.
Like, no, I'm not. It will be far. And I'm like, no, I'm not. But today, because of this back issue and because the back issue and the hips are so intertwined, now I'm walking on purpose.
It's
to walk.
It's good. It clears it's like my baseline. Like if I'm not walking, I'm like, okay, that's a mental check for me. Like, okay, let me check in. It's actually, I live close to the park. Yeah. So I can, when Carter leaves the house, it's about 6:45 a.m. And I can
Your son?
Yes. Sorry. Yes. My son leaves the house.
Notice his name is Carter.
Yes. Hint. And it's hint. Correct. So it's like, and at 6:45, I can walk to the park, and I just walk the circle, and it takes me about an hour. So by the time I'm back, it's also just between 8 and 8:30 in the morning. So I could still start my day, and I already had you have the birds, the sounds, it's very peaceful. I like to walk without listening to anything so that I can just hear nature more than anything else. And then sometimes I'll just listen to a podcast or something. But yeah, walking. I think it's my form of meditation because I don't do too well with just the sit and quiet. So that's my time to meditate while walking.
Nice. And the purpose of the happy habit is to give people, the viewers, the listeners, just little things that you can do if you're not already doing them. Little things that you can implement that could cause a huge shift.
Yes.
Right? And bring you more joy.
Yes.
That's
absolutely.
It. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This was fun.
Guys. Thank you, guys. Love ya.
I can do your outro in my head.
This is her all day, guys. This is her all day.
It's coming.
Thank you for tuning in to the Nola Experience podcast. Created and hosted by Nola, produced by Take Action Media, theme song by Mr. Melee, sponsored by The Hills Restaurant, Brooklyn, New York. Listen to us on all podcast platforms and follow us on social media at the Nola Experience Podcast. Visit the thenolaroexperiencepodcast.com and connect with us via email at talkwithnola@gmail.com.